Crypto with me, Katie Pilbeam. This week, the virtual currency Bitcoin took a step further into the realm of reality. We've also got the fact that Ukraine has turned its back on the EU free trade deal. Plus, the South Stream is making its way to Serbia. Corporate news to come, JPMorgan pays up, and Mr. Sean Thomas is coming up. Bitcoin reached an all-time high this week of $900. Now, at its peak, if you had have invested $1,000 a year ago and cashed it in on that day, you would have made over $76,000. Now, the reason behind the huge gains were largely put down to US lawmakers hearing that virtual currencies are a legitimate financial service during a special meeting in Congress with the same benefits and risks as other online payment systems. Another reason behind Bitcoin's latest gains is its growing popularity in China. Now, about a third of the world's Bitcoin transactions now flow through the China exchange BTC. So I'm now joined by Bobby Lee, who's the head of the exchange. Okay, Bobby, what I want to know is, why is the Bitcoin so popular in China?
Bitcoin has been quite popular in China over the past 2 months. I think it's due to a combination of more awareness. In China, because it's a nation of savers, people tend to save for the rainy day, and they want to when they save their hard-earned income, they want to put the money to good use. So they either buy real estate, they buy gold, they buy stocks. They put it in long-term deposits in the bank, and so Bitcoin has come up as yet another way for them to invest their money.
Why is the Bitcoin so volatile? Because this week, Bobby,
yes,
we've seen outrageous volatility. It's been all over the place.
The reason it's volatile is because of supply and demand. In essence, because Bitcoin is limited to 21 million, it turns out there's only about 12 million Bitcoins available today. Our daily volume has spiked to about 80,000 to 110,000 Bitcoins a day. So as prices go up and up and up, there are just not that many people. All the people who wanted to sell Bitcoins have already sold their Bitcoins at lower prices. So the next buyer who's eager to buy Bitcoin at whatever price it is, then has to buy it at the very high price. So you see a sharp jump in the price. So what happens over time, as there is more liquidity in the market, that would sort of calm down a little bit, and the prices will be more normal.
And Bobby, what about regulation? Are you for this, or could it potentially kill the Bitcoin?
I know a lot of people out there are afraid of regulation, but I take a different perspective. All the rules and regulations relating to currency don't apply to Bitcoin because Bitcoin is not a currency. So there's this sort of catch-22 where until Bitcoin is recognized, it cannot be regulated, yet people are afraid of being regulated. So my take is, our business, for my company, we want Bitcoin to be regulated in China. We want China to take an active role in order to endorse and sort of promote Bitcoin in the space, so that we can continue innovation in this sector.
Bobby Lee there, talking to us from Shanghai, speaking BTC China, the head just there. We really appreciate your thoughts. We're now joined by Vladimir Maslakov from Exanti, the CTO of the company that invests into Bitcoin, doesn't it? Is that right?
Yes, right. We were the first company to make the Bitcoin fund so our customers could legally invest into Bitcoin.
Right, gotcha. Okay, so with that in mind, what happened this week? We got to that 900 mark. What was going through your mind? You must have been pretty excited.
No, we were pretty calm about it because we knew that the adoption is rising. And that's why it was just one movement in the price, and then it got back to the same levels.
And really, the reason that it did escalate so much is because of what was happening in the US, the US regulation talks. Are you keen, or would that kill the Bitcoin? Because surely that's part of its attraction, the fact that it is so private.
Yes, I think one of the main drivers this week was the US Senate talk about it, and the guys on the internet, they were really very optimistic because the government showed that they're ready to get involved into this digital currency thing. And we know that a month ago, Germany accepted Bitcoin as legal tender, so people could pay taxes and use it as an exchange vehicle. So I think that government showed people that they are quite comfortable with it, and they're looking for different ways to come to regulation.
Yeah, and moving on, so what is the future of the Bitcoin? Do you think that it's just going to get bigger and better and more improved as a virtual currency?
I think yes. I see the future that it will become one of the major currencies in the digital world.
when you first started investing into Bitcoin, did people think you were mad?
Yeah, actually, they still do.
They still do now?
Yes.
Even though it's got to the 900, yeah.
Yes, but I tried to explain that the technology is quite robust. It's working like for 4 years, even more, and it has been proven by millions of transactions already. So it's quite mature at the moment.
And in terms of a portfolio, how would you recommend going about it in terms of the Bitcoin? Because it is so volatile, isn't it?
Yes, that's what I say to all the investors, not only Bitcoin, but classical stocks investors. You should always diversify your portfolio. That's the best hedge from the risk, from the big risk, is the diversification. That's why you should take just a portion of your money, and if you believe in technology, invest into Bitcoin, for example.
Great advice just there from Vladimir Maslakov from Exanti. Thank you for coming in today. We really appreciate that. JPMorgan Chase will pay $13 billion for its part in the financial crisis of 2008. The bank acknowledged serious misrepresentations to the public and investors about the real state of toxic mortgage loans leading up to the financial crash. And it's not all over for JPMorgan. The criminal part of the investigation will continue, as well as charges over dodgy hiring practices in China and the huge London whale trading losses. The Ukrainian government has suspended preparations for entering the EU's free trade zone. Now we've got politics involved as well as the economy playing its part too, with the Ukrainian energy minister commenting that the decision was based on the best economic interests of his country. Now we've got Alexei Yaroshevsky, our correspondent in Ukraine, for us, giving us a full report on the details as to what's going on. Alexei, what are the main issues at the moment then?
Well, the main issue at the moment is that the government of Ukraine decided to take a U-turn, a 180-degree U-turn from what was said about 2 months ago about joining the European Union for a free trade zone. Basically, it's been a matter of choice for Ukraine all along, the choice between the free trade zone with the EU and the customs union with Russia and the CIS countries. Everyone thought that Ukraine would be joining the free trade zone with the European Union, but now it said that it suspended all preparations for signing the association deal and is looking to restore crippled and damaged trade ties with Russia and the CIS countries, simply understanding that the Ukrainian economy, it's ailing already, and it would not be ready for such a leap of faith. It would not be ready for aligning itself with the European Union, and the European Union on its turn never promised any kind of compensations for the potential economic damages that Ukraine might have suffered.
And what about Ukraine now? What are the options? What's next on the table?
Well, the quite obvious option for Ukraine now is to basically estimate how they can avoid all these economic damages. That is why, according to the first Vice Prime Minister of Ukraine's government, Mr. Boyko, they are looking to create a three-sided commission between Russia, the EU and Ukraine to discuss potential compensations of those damages and risks to Ukrainian economy and how these things could be avoided. We understand at the moment that the EU hasn't promised any kind of compensations to Ukraine. The FDI in the next 7 years is to be expected at the level of around €1 billion per year, and Ukraine is estimated to be losing more than €3 billion a year if it severs its trade ties with Russia. So this is basically the only option for Ukraine now, is to estimate how can they avoid those losses, because essentially we understand that Kyiv is still looking to sign the association deal in the future, only without those damages to Ukrainian economy.
Alexei, thank you for that update in the rain there. Really appreciate it. Go inside and have a cup of tea and get warm. Today, the South Stream will begin branching out to Serbia in a deal worth $2.4 billion. Construction is now underway for the natural gas pipeline to run under the Black Sea to Bulgaria, Serbia and Hungary before reaching out to Western Europe. But there's a bit of a spanner in the works, because an EU official claims that the deal is in collision with EU rules. Mr. Bushley from the EU's Energy Department said that it's not in line with their rules since they do not allow for third parties, which in this case would be Gazprom. Mr. Bushley went on to say that an exemption could be granted, but it's not been requested. Corporate news now then, and we're going to start with the aircraft sector because Boeing and Russia's largest titanium producer, they've agreed to expand their joint venture. The partners will make plane parts in the Urals region. Boeing plans to spend around $27 billion on Russian titanium over the next decade. Gazprom increased gas supplies to Europe by 15.5% in the first 9 months of 2013. Germany, Turkey and Italy remain the biggest buyers of Russian natural gas. Russian telecoms giant Rostelecom wants his ex-boss to return a giant payout he received when leaving the company. The golden parachute of $7 million paid to Alexander Provotov caused outrage. Now, I've been particularly looking forward to this section of the show. Yes, we're going to get over to the business desk. We're going to talk to Mr. Sean Thomas. Hey, Mr. Bitcoin. So it's gone really well for you this week, Sean.
It's been amazing. In fact, let these balloons be symbolic of the rise in my portfolio as things are just growing great. In fact, Bitcoin, you know, if you remember, I put 25% of my portfolio into Bitcoin. It's up 44%. On top of that, Gazprom is up 1%. The remaining 75% of my portfolio was in Gazprom, which means I made nearly $1,200 this week, putting me up in like I've made money for the first time since this entire venture started. My portfolio now at $10,000, Woohoo!
Woo! Well done. We got there in the end. Fantastic. Good stuff. So listen, Bitcoin, it's volatile. Are you strong enough? Are you going to stay with it? Have you got nerves of steel? Have you got the minerals to stick with it?
I've got the balloons to stick with it. In fact, I am going to stay 25% in Bitcoin because, here's my theory, because, you know, the holiday season is coming about. In Russia, they do New Year's, and people are going to be buying gifts and what have you, online shopping. So I figure Bitcoin is going to be a good way to stay. I'm also going to stay 50% in Gazprom this time because it's starting to get cold. People are going to be using more energy. I think it's a good time to stay in energy. And then also Uralkali, the potash wars, I'm going to kind of go 25% because I've gotten some idea that things are going to be stabilizing there, which means prices are going to be better for the producers. So I'm going to get involved in the potash wars, 25%. So 25% Uralkali, 25% Bitcoin, and 50% Gazprom is what I'm going to do for next week.
Let's go party later, and the bar bill is on you.
Indeed.
Well done. Congratulations. See you later. Okay, that's it for today's Venture Capital. We've all gone a bit Bitcoin mad, haven't we? I'll be watching the performance of the virtual currency next week. I'm going to be seeing how the Ukraine gets on, how the situation develops as well. But if you'll excuse me, I've got some serious partying and celebrations to do with Sean. See you later. Take care.